I'd like to talk about a book that I've almost finished reading called How the West Really Lost God by Mary Eberstadt. And her thesis is a simple one, and that is that with the advent of birth control in the 1960s, the family as an institution became fragmented in many different ways, and it was a result of that faith transmission among families was very much interrupted, and so that, she maintains, that is how the West gradually has seen this erosion of faith throughout the Western countries. So what are your thoughts on the role of the family in faith, passing on the faith from one generation to the next?
My personal experience is that family is incredibly important around the passing on of faith, and I want to honour my parents who have passed their faith on to me, and honour their parents before them, and a chain, if you like, of transmission. And it you know, in our homes, we're spending the bulk of our time as children. The influences in the home are powerful in shaping who we will become as adults. And so if there is disruption in family life, there's likely to be disruption in transmission. And what this author, along of course with many other writers in this area, is saying is that we've known a particularly widespread permeating disruption of family life as it has been known. And that's a challenge for the church because on the one hand, because of our long history of engagement with family life, going way back into the scriptures themselves and stories of various families, and of course their role in passing on the faith and so forth, we really value, if you like, the stability of family life, a kind of traditional approach to family life. And yet, many people are not in that situation today, and there's no point in going into the reasons for that. There's something like birth control. It may have been a contributing factor. We can talk about other things that Western societies have done, which some would allege make it easier for a family to become disrupted. But in the end, every family's disruption is a unique story, and it's not our role in the church, I think, to get into why the disruption may have occurred, and it's not straightforward to say, and the disruption's got to stop, because that doesn't really take account of some really personal challenges that this family or a family over here may be experiencing. So I think the question is, can the church encourage every family as it comes across families in the life of the church? So whether they're classic mum and dad and 2.54 children, or a single parent, a reblended family with two people who've married again, grandparents bringing up children. We all know in our parishes that, in a sense, every kind of family is present. So the question is, how can we encourage those families to be the best family they can be, including in that the best transmitters of the faith?
That's encouraging. I'm sure so many people are affected by families that aren't working nearly as well as they could. Tell me about the role of the church. How can we kind of offer a really positive community for families of all kinds of structures and support them through our local churches?
It's pretty important, the kind of welcome and hospitality we give as a starting point. And you know, there are stories of people saying, I went to this church, but, and then they might say, as a single person, as a divorced person, as a single parent with a child, I didn't feel I quite met some sort of norm or some sort of almost like a requirement to be a part of this particular church family. So an absolute welcome, inclusiveness, hospitality to all is a starting point. If there's to be a genuine reception of any message, we're here to support you as a family.
I've heard a phrase just recently called value proposition, which is really a commercial kind of term, or a marketing kind of term, but it basically means, how can you show people what what you're offering in the clearest possible way, that you're offering value. So how can we use that kind of idea with our churches to show people and show families that we would love to have them come and join this very rich kind of local community called the local church, and how can we support them in that?
One thing we could potentially do is pay a bit of thinking time to our language, and out of the language to our actions.
Yeah.
So, if I say as the vicar, we're having a parenting course next week, I want all the parents to come along, full stop. That doesn't help the two-parent family or the single-parent family, because you're expecting all the parents to come, but you've made no offer about, say, organising babysitting.
Yeah.
So a bit of attention to thinking about what it would mean to offer a parenting course.
Yeah.
But conversely, sometimes in our churches we want to encourage marriages, and that is always a good thing. But if we put too much emphasis on the forthcoming marriage course, we may be subtly and unintentionally disenfranchising from the church fellowship those who are not married, and wondering, well, where's the course for me, or for me in my situation? So just really thinking through what messages, and if you like, subtext with messages we're giving when we say we're offering this, we're proposing to do that. What does church family camp mean? I'm sure it actually means the whole church family are invited to the camp. Yeah. But of course, sometimes people can hear that as, well, families are welcome, but I don't have a family, so I'm not welcome. So, and every church will have its own sense of what the language is that will work well.
Thank you. So, to me, churches are kind of a unique kind of structure within any society, because it's not about everything in common. Like often, you have different groups that share common interests, but in the church there's such a range of people, and I hope and pray that our churches kind of use that to the best effect by welcoming families of every kind of structure and makeup, and offering them the support that they need to really flourish.
I'm sure you'll agree with me, Mark, that despite all the diversity in church, I hope it's always hope that we have one thing in common. That's Jesus Christ. So I know you know that.
I would sign up to that for sure.
But maybe that's a starting point. What does our common life in Christ then mean for our differences and our different needs, and at different ages and stages of life? And I think you and I also know that take a slightly different aspect of church family. In some of our parishes, we can so emphasise the importance of children and youth, but the elderly in the parish are feeling left out.
There are tensions everywhere.
Of course, it's also possible that when the young people in the church saying, could the music be more to our generation's taste, the vicar or the worship committee say, well, we've got all these folk who like the old hymns. And so there is that tension. But then isn't family life about negotiating tension between parents and children,
Absolutely.
between a mum and a dad, about how to bring up the kids and all that stuff. So how we model negotiating that tension may in itself be a powerful influence on the individual households in our church families, and how they're going to be a household of faith.
Well, once again, thank you very much for your comments and your vision for family life and indeed church life. We appreciate it so much. Thank you.